त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव.
Hari Om to all of you. First of all, my apologies for last week's class. As you all know, there was a very what you call adverse weather. So I think, but apologies to those of you who came here. I think 7 of you were here, but we couldn't go on with the class. Okay. Second announcement is for those of you who want to ask questions. There are 4 ways to ask questions. See, we give you many options to encourage you to ask questions. One is you can ask question by putting up your hand in this class and ask a question. Number 2, there's a box at the entrance as you come in. You can write your question on the piece of paper, put it in a box, and we will address the question the following week. The third way, there is a QR code for those of you who are IT friendly. You can scan the QR code and it will go to a Google form. You just fill up the questions, okay, and submit online. And the fourth way, my email address is there. You can also send me an email and I'll give you a reply, okay. So, saying that, let us now proceed with the Bhagavad Gita class today. So, we are going to complete the final verses of chapter 1. So, it is good that we just take a very quick recap, a refresher of what we have covered so far. So first of all, keep in mind what is the title of this chapter. Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Yoga, as you all been told, it comes from the root Sanskrit word yuj, which means to unite. So what are we uniting? We are uniting ourselves with the Supreme Consciousness, the Atman, the consciousness which is within us with the Supreme Consciousness. That is the word of yoga. And every chapter in the Gita, the title of every chapter has the word yoga. So each chapter is a practice or a means to unite with the Supreme Being. The second word in this first chapter is called Vishada. Vishada means depression, despondency, confusion of thinking. So just think, when many of us are in a very, what we call in a confused state of thinking, and we are facing several problems in life, and we have tried every means, whatever we can, whatever we know to try to handle these problems, and we cannot find a solution, what do we end up doing? What do we end up doing? We turn to the Supreme Being, right? We turn to a higher being to find the answers. So Arjuna's problem was exactly the same. He was on the battlefield, he was confused, he didn't know what to do, whether to fight the battle or to run away from the battle. And finally he decided to just surrender to Lord Krishna to find a solution to his problem. So the first thing we have to see is now, what is it that caused Arjuna's, what we call his despondency or his confusion? So we go to verse number 28 in chapter 1. Okay, it's on page 14. Verse number 28. So the word used in verse number 28 is kripaya. Kripaya means compassion. And you may say it is good to have compassion. Of course, it is good to have compassion. But here there is one more word that is added to the word kripaya. If you see in the first line of the Sanskrit text, avishtaha. So kripaya, avishtaha means he not only experienced compassion, he was overpowered or overcome by compassion. Now we have to analyze this. If there is any quality that comes in you, anger, greed, lust, jealousy, If the feelings are mild, it's okay. But when these negative feelings or positive feelings overpower you, what happens? What happens when you're overpowered by greed? We just take one example. When you're overpowered by greed, what happens? If the greed is a little bit, you don't feel it, it's okay. But when greed overpowers you, what happens? None of you experience greed. Sorry? Sorry?
Start crying.
You start what? Crying? Crying. Why would you cry?
Overpowered by it. And after that, you may not be able to function as normally is.
So you lose your capacity to think what is right, what is wrong, isn't it? That's when greed overpowers you. The next problem happens is you lose your capacity to decipher what is right, what is wrong. This is exactly Arjuna's problem on the battlefield. When he was overpowered by compassion, he didn't want to see all his fellow relatives, gurus, etc. die on this battlefield. Just for the sake of a kingdom, he said, is it worth it for me to go into this battle and kill all these people? Just for the sake of a kingdom? So he began to feel compassion for his beloved people. And this overpowered him, and he could not make a decision whether to stay on the field or whether to leave the field. So what is this, what we call, his problem was due to his attachment to his relatives. So why is it that we seek happiness in the world? Why is it that we seek happiness in the world? This all leads back to, you see, the whole Gita actually is a study of the mind if you really look at it. All these characters, all these verses you see and all, everything leads back to nothing but how to be a master of your mind and what is it that is causing the problems for your mind. So the first thing is we have to ask ourselves here, why do we seek happiness in the world? Why do we go outwards towards the world to seek happiness? Whether you buy a new car, a new handbag, a new iPhone, go to a fancy restaurant, why are we seeking that happiness? Instant pleasure, yes, that's true, but why are you seeking it in the first place? Desire, okay.
Peace of mind. Peace of mind.
Okay, peace of mind. But the very fact is, no, it's not a natural process. The very fact is, you yourself feel there's an emptiness in you. You feel something is missing in you. So you seek that to fill up that happiness in different ways. Some take to what you call smoking or drinking or whatever it is. Some take to going on a holiday. Whatever it is, we are trying to fill that emptiness in us. Now, what is the problem in that? You say, so what? I go out on a holiday, it's okay, what's wrong with me to find that happiness in the world? What is the problem with that? It is not lasting, it is all temporary. So you go from one experience to another, to another, to another. See, in chapter 9, Krishna has so beautifully put it. What is the nature of the world where we are seeking happiness? In chapter 9, verse number 33, page 177. Chapter 9, verse 33, page 177. Okay, look at the third line of the Sanskrit text. The third line. What does it say there? Anityam asukam lokam. Do you see that? Anityam asukam lokam. Loka means this world has got two qualities. One is anityam. Nityam means that which is permanent. So when you add the in front of it, it means that which is temporary, always subject to change. So if you are seeking happiness in the world which is subject to change, can your nature of happiness be permanent? Can never be permanent. And the second thing is asukam. Sukam is happiness. Asukam is sorrow. It is an abode of sorrow. Why is the world an abode of sorrow? Because anything upon its arrival gives you happiness, upon its departure gives you sorrow. And anything upon its arrival gives you sorrow, upon its departure gives you happiness. So you are constantly caught in this battle of happiness, sorrow, happiness, sorrow. So now the important question comes is, if the world is not a place for me to seek happiness, then why am I born in this world? What do I do with this world? Why am I here? Why am I created in this world then? Why did God put me in this world? To come for Gita classes? The world is a place for us to discharge our past karmas. That's why we are reborn, because we have the past karmas. Okay. And second is, how do I interact with this world with the right knowledge to get out of this cycle of birth and death? So our whole mission is to gain this knowledge, how to get out of this cycle of birth and death. Therefore, if the world is not a place for me to seek happiness, where do I seek happiness then? Because happiness is our right. Where do I seek happiness? Within. So what does it mean, go within? See, this is where people get confused. We tell people, go within where? Inside where? What is inside? What do you mean by go within? What do you mean by finding happiness within? See, where is God? Where is this consciousness, this state of Satchit Ananda? Where is it? Is it outside? It is within us. If this state of happiness is within us, why can't we experience it? All of us have this state of consciousness in us. Consciousness is nothing but bliss. It is within us, but we cannot experience it. Why is that? Huh?
Ignorance.
Okay, ignorance is one reason also. We do not know that bliss is within us, so we search it outside. What else? Sorry? Okay, so attachment is like many other what we call problems. So what it basically boils down to is the dirt in our mind. It is just like a lake, whereas there is a diamond at the base of the lake, but you cannot see the diamond because of the water is murky. So when your mind is filled with greed, anger, jealousy, envy, lust, how can you experience the bliss within? So what is going within? Going within is removing the dirt from your mind. The whole process of spirituality as you go along is removing the dirt and the ignorance from your mind. Once you have achieved that, you will automatically experience that state of Satchit Ananda within you. So the process is elimination. How do we eliminate? Through the process of karma yoga, selfless action, bhakti yoga, devotion to the Lord, jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. These three which are mentioned in the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So now Arjuna was overpowered by compassion. And this led to his sorrow. He started wondering how can he kill all these people. And that led to his confusion of thinking. Now he wants to get out of this battlefield. He wants to leave. He's decided he doesn't want to fight. But he has to give some kind of excuse to Krishna. Krishna is standing there as a charioteer. He has to tell him some story. So what does he tell him? Let's look at the very first reason he gives Krishna on the battlefield in verse 31. What does he tell Krishna in verse 31? We have already covered this, so I'm just briefly summarizing this for you, okay? What does he tell Krishna? He said, Krishna, I see evil omens everywhere around. There are many evil omens going around. And it is mentioned that no doubt there were evil omens going around at that time, like howling jackals were there in all directions of the battlefield. There were violent winds. There were dark and gloomy skies and some atmospheric and cosmic disturbances. They were going on. But actually, if you think about it, look at the situation of human beings again, okay? When our mind is depressed, When you look out at the world, what do you see? You will only see negativity, right? Right? You leave your house, you're already in a very disturbed state of mind. A black cat passes you by. What do? Bad luck, go back, take shower again. Come out again, see another black cat, go back, take shower again. You will never leave your house. So Arjuna was already in that state of depression. Everywhere he sees around him, he only sees negative things. Just like, they say, don't keep Mahabharata book in the house. Do you know that? You know that? You're not supposed to keep Mahabharata book in the house. Why? That is a saying. Mahabharata, there's a lot of strife, argument between relatives, this, that, lot of problems going on there. They say you keep Mahabharata book in your house, your family will have a lot of quarrels. But the thing is, even you don't keep Mahabharata book in the house, also there are quarrels in the family. So why blame the poor Mahabharata book, isn't it? So we tend to see all these superstitious signs, but they are actually because our mind is weak. This is Arjuna's problem. So first reason, he tries to get out of the situation by telling Krishna, there are too many what we call evil omens here. So we should not go into and fight this battle. Something is telling us to withdraw. But you see, whatever excuse Arjuna gives to Krishna, what is Krishna's response? He's sitting there, he's smiling at him actually. He's wondering what has become of you, Arjuna. You're such a brave warrior. You have never had this problem before. You've gone into so many battles with your mind totally concentrated. Now what has happened to you? So Arjuna tries another reason now. Second reason, verse 32. Verse 32, he tells Krishna, actually, na kangshe. I do not desire vijayam. I don't desire victory in this battle. After all, what does it matter who wins? Let them win, we win. What does it matter? So he's telling him, I'm prepared to even give up this battle. Let the Kauravas win this battle. Na kangshe vijayam. I don't desire this victory. On top of that, I also don't desire this rajyam. I don't want this palace, this great palace which we are all fighting for. Actually, I'm not interested in it. And then he tells Krishna, na sukhani. I don't care for all the comforts. If I win back the palace, I will have all the comforts in the palace. I am not interested in it. Now, the question here is that Arjuna, in fact, in this verse, finally, he even summarizes and says, Jivitena, what is the purpose of this life, Arjuna? Why are we living this life? So, again, coming back to the human condition, when is it we get the most philosophical? When do we get the most philosophical? Many times we get philosophical, but when is the place where people become very philosophical? No answers come to it. I'll tell you, when we go to the cremation grounds, when we see people being cremated, then don't we question life? What is all this life all about? Why run after material things? We shouldn't run after all this. See, in the end, we all have to come back here only. Get very philosophical. Tomorrow, I will start reading the Bhagavad Geeta, a few verses. Then every Saturday, I'll go to Gita Ashram for Gita classes. We start getting philosophical. But what happens the next day? When we go back and get entangled in the world, we forget everything. Then Gita class forgotten, Bhagavad Gita forgotten, everything forgotten. What we remember? Coffee bean, Starbucks, McDonald's. So suddenly we get engrossed back in the world. So this is exactly again problems for the mind, where Arjuna is confused and now he's saying, I don't even want to live. What is the purpose of this life? What is the purpose of getting the kingdom? All kinds of excuses he's giving. Now, the question we come to, it is okay to give up desire for more and more material things. Arjuna is not saying something that is wrong. Yes, it is okay for us to give up our desires to acquire more and more material things. But the thing is, we should not be thinking of giving up things because we are disgusted with life. That feeling should come naturally in us when we have taken up a higher purpose, a higher goal in life. When you are addicted to the higher goal in life, then you will find that all these attractions of the world mean nothing to you. So to Arjuna saying that he wants to give up, it is all out of disgust. I'm fed up, I'm angry, I'm disturbed, I just don't care about life. It's not a real purpose or the real reason to give up all these things. In fact, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 6. Look at chapter 3, verse 6. What does he say there? Page number 61. Chapter 3, verse 6, page 61. He says, he who outwardly restraining the organs of action, outwardly he's sitting down, he's meditating, he's restraining his organs of action, but mentally dwelling on objects of senses, that man of deluded intellect is called a hypocrite. So the whole thing again boils back to mind. Physically, you might be sitting down and meditating, but your mind is running to all the objects of desire. That is not the purpose. The purpose is to control the mind. In fact, what we call a sannyasi, a renunciate, is not necessary for you to go to a forest or an ashram or a cave, sit down and meditate. When you cannot control your mind, there is no purpose of doing all this. So you can even be in your house as a householder, but if you have got a control on your mind, you are a sannyasi. That's what Krishna says in chapter 5. So, coming back to Arjuna's desire to give up all these material things is a wrong, what we call a wrong decision, because he is giving it up out of disgust. In fact, Adi Sankaracharya, how many of you have heard of Adi Sankaracharya? Okay, very good. Adi Sankaracharya, the great sage, he wrote commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, he wrote commentaries on the 10 Upanishads, which are known as the principal Upanishads, and he wrote his own commentaries like Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, Bhaja Govindam, all beautiful. In one of his commentaries, Viveka Chudamani, he said, 3 things are the most difficult for a human being to attain. 3 things. If we attain these 3 things, liberation is guaranteed. Now, what are the 3 things? First is this human birth. To attain this human birth, we have gone through so many different births until we attain the pinnacle of God's creation. What is it that makes the human birth the pinnacle of Lord's creation? The intellect, right? It is the capacity of the intellect, the gift of the intellect that has been given to us. For what purpose? To discern what is right, what is wrong, to make changes in our life. No other creation of the Lord has been gifted this intellect. So the first thing is we have to appreciate that we have got this human birth. It is our very golden chance to attain liberation. First is human birth. Now, having human birth is not enough, because the second quality must be there. Shankara calls it mumukshutvam, which means desire for liberation. That means I must have that passion in me that I want to get out of the cycle of birth and deaths. So then only I'll proceed on the spiritual path. Otherwise, as long as I am so entangled, so fascinated by worldly things, I will waste this human birth. And the third thing, Shankara said, which is also not easy to get, is the grace of a guru. So if you have human birth, if you have this desire for liberation, and you have a guru in your life, these 3 are the most perfect combination for you to attain total liberation. So now we come to Arjuna's final argument now. He's not getting any response from Krishna, so he tries his final argument. Now what I'll do is I'll summarize from you this final argument from chapter 1, verses 39 to 45. Okay? What is his final argument now? So if you look at verse 39 first, you will see in the 3rd line of the Sanskrit text, the word dosham. Dosha means a great sin. Arjuna is telling Krishna, if we carry on with this battle, if we fight this battle and kill all these people, we are committing a very great sin. How are you committing a great sin? So Arjuna starts now to explain to Krishna. See, he's now forward thinking now. He's giving so many excuses for the present. Now he's telling Krishna, let us look at the future. What is going to happen? So the word here is kulak shaye in the third line of the Sanskrit text. Kulak shaye. Kula means family. Shaye means we will destroy entire families. The whole family will be destroyed. By killing the male soldier on the battlefield, not only will destroy the man, but what will happen to his wife and the children? So we will be ending up destroying the entire family. How do you do that? How will you destroy the whole family? So he explains in subsequent verses, verse 40, he says, first of all, Kula dharma. Dharma means the traditions which are practiced by every family. So every family, the head of the household, he will teach the children how to perform rituals, how to perform the prayers, respect your elders. All these things, he says, if you kill the head of the household, who will teach the children to perform all these prayers? And what will happen when less and less people start practicing spirituality? They will start going towards the materialistic life. They won't know the spiritual life, they will take to the materialistic life. So he says we will kill all the family traditions. Then he also picks on the women. He says, what will happen to the women? You have very few men, you have such a huge population of women, they need to be protected, so they will also start doing wiseful activities also. So if you look at Arjuna's arguments, it's very, very, very logical. And then he ends all this argument in the final verse 45. Okay, so I'm summarized for you. He says, you kill the men, you end up killing the whole family tradition, because then the children will not have the head of the household to teach them. The women will be led astray. All these things he talks about. But again, we must understand that he is in a very confused state of mind. Now, what is the flaw with Arjuna's argument when he says entire families will be destroyed, family traditions will be destroyed, we will commit a great sin by fighting this war? What is the biggest flaw in Arjuna's argument? Can you see the flaw? You understand what he's trying to get at, right? That we're going to destroy the whole families. Generations to come will be destroyed. There will be vice prevailing here if we fight and kill all these people. But what is the flaw in Arjuna's argument? If Arjuna decides to run away from the battlefield and decides not to fight, is it going to stop the Kauravas from attacking the Pandavas? They will still come and fight. They will still come and kill all the Pandavas. The Pandavas represent dharma, righteousness. Kauravas represent adharma, unrighteousness. If they come and kill all the righteous people, then also adharma will prevail. Then also unrighteousness will prevail. So Arjuna's arguments have got no basis at all, right? And the other thing is, we must understand that he's saying that we will commit sin. But Krishna refutes this point. In fact, every point that Arjuna brings up to not fight this war, Krishna gives him an answer back in chapter 2. So if we just quickly take a look at chapter 2, verse 33. Arjuna has said now in verse 45, we will commit a great sin. What does Krishna tell him in chapter 2, verse 33? Page number 39, verse 33. He tells Arjuna said, by waging this war, we will commit sin. What does Krishna say? Now, if you will not wage such a righteous war, you have been given an opportunity as a Kshatriya, as a soldier, to fight this righteous war. It is your duty. If you do not wage such a righteous war, then abandoning your duty and losing your reputation, you will incur sin. So it is the other way around. So sin, there are two ways we can commit sin. One is the scriptures say don't do this, don't kill, don't rob, okay, don't cheat people, and we do we do that. Scriptures say don't do that, but we do that you can commit sin. Second way we commit sin is scriptures tell you respect your elders. You don't respect your elders, you abuse your elders, so you commit sin. They say do that, but you don't do it, then also you commit sin. So by not waging a righteous war, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you are committing a greater sin. As a soldier, your duty is to defend dharma. You should always be what you call fighting against adharma. So Arjuna's what we call understanding is getting very, very, very blur. He's actually giving a lot of wrong excuses. So coming back to the end of this chapter 1, we see now in verse 46, what does he say? Finally, he gives up. Arjuna has tried to give so many excuses to Krishna that why he doesn't want to fight this war. Krishna is not supporting him at all. So finally, what does he say in verse 46? It would be better if I am slain unarmed and unresisting in battle by the sons of Dhritarashtra armed with weapons. That means what? I am prepared to give up my life, commit suicide, right? He's totally exhausted. He doesn't know what to say. And finally, in the last verse, he says, now Sanjaya comes in the picture. Because Arjuna doesn't know what to say, Krishna doesn't want to say anything. Now Sanjaya summarizes what is happening. He says, having spoken thus, Arjuna sank down in the back seat of the chariot, laying down his bow and arrow, overwhelmed, overpowered by sorrow and mind agitated. So this is the scenario at the end of chapter 1. Now, we've seen the problem of Arjuna, so now we enter into chapter 2. Okay? From chapter 2 onwards, we will see the solution, how Krishna gets Arjuna out of his state of depression, delusion, and what we call, then Arjuna decides to go ahead and fight the war. Okay? So, we come now to chapter 2. What is chapter 2 titled? The title of chapter 2 is called Sankhya Yoga. So again, we come back to the problem of the mind. We must understand this very clearly. The scriptures tell us that we have three main problems of the mind. Okay? All the problems that we have, you can crystallize it into three main problems. And the Bhagavad Gita is a solution how to handle these three problems. So what is the first problem of the mind? They say it is called malam. Malam means dirt of the mind. Okay? What do we mean by dirt? Huh? So like what? Huh? Sorry? Jealousy. Huh? Sorry? Bad thoughts, okay. What else? Greed, pride, ego. So many what we call impurities are there in our mind. So how do we remove these impurities? The solution from the Bhagavad Gita is go on the path of karma yoga sadhana. What is karma yoga sadhana? Karma means action. Yoga means that which unites you with the Supreme. Meaning every action that you do, you dedicate mentally to the Lord, purifies your mind. How do we know that? Look at chapter 5 verse 11. I hope you all don't get confused. I'm going back and forth. Chapter 5 verse 11, page 106. The purpose of performing karma yoga. Karma yoga is right action with right attitude. That attitude is every action is surrendered to the Lord. It is not only praying, it is also your worldly actions, your daily actions. If your mental attitude is, I am just an instrument in the hands of the Lord, then that action becomes purified. So he says in chapter 5 verse 11, the karma yogis, meaning the people on the path of selfless action, perform action with their senses, mind, intellect, body, and very important, shaking off attachment. Why? For the sake of self-purification. Atma Suddhaye. Now, this word self-purification has got to be understood. Atma Suddhaye. Suddhaye means purification. Atma has got many meanings. One meaning is soul, but it cannot be soul. Why? In this context, it cannot be purifying the soul. Why can it not mean purifying the soul? Soul is already pure. You cannot purify the soul. So, Atma in this context means what? Mind. So, all these actions which are performed by surrendering to the Lord, considering yourself as an instrument in the hands of the Lord, purifies your mind. It removes ego, anger, greed, jealousy, etc. So, impurities of the mind can be removed through karma yoga sadhana. Now we come to the second problem. Second problem with the mind is vikshepa. Vikshepa means the monkey mind, the mind that is running here and there. Especially now you're in Gita class, I don't know where's your mind. Right? Probably thinking after this I want to go for my coffee or something like that. So it's not easy. This mind, to bring it under control is not easy. So what is the remedy? So, okay, Karma Yoga is explained in the first 6 chapters of the Gita, concentration of Karma Yoga. Middle 6 chapters of the Gita give us the solution for the vacillating mind, the vikshepa. What is the solution? Bhakti Yoga sadhana. What is Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga means chanting your mantras, saying your prayers, doing your prayers, going to the temple, where you focus your mind on the Lord. You see, when you go to the temple, why do you go to temple? Why do you go to temple? For the prasad you go. Why do you go to temple? Do you realize that temple is a place that engages all your 5 senses? Your eyes see the form of the Lord. Your ears hear the sound of the temple bells or the chanting that is going on. Your lips taste the prasadam. Your nose smells the fragrance of the flowers. Each and every part of your senses is engaged in the concentration of the Lord. It's focused on the Lord. So how do I control my mind? That's why the word mantra is very important. Why do we have mantras? When you're driving, suddenly, let's say your mind goes back to 1925, that fellow called me a monkey. Then what happens? Immediately rage starts building up in you, right? So what do? You chant your mantras. The word mantra comes from 2 words. Man, antara. Man means mind, antara means that which subdues the mind. So you cannot suppress the mind. It won't work always. At the same time, you cannot express what your mind is thinking. If your mind is anger, you can't express it. That's dangerous. So what can you do? Divert the mind. So through prayers, through rituals, through fasting, through going to temple, all these are exercises in how to focus our mind on the Lord. So for Vikshepa, the solution is Bhakti Yoga Sadhana, which is given in the middle 6 chapters of the Gita. And the last affliction that we all have is called Ajnanam. Jnanam is knowledge, Ajnanam means ignorance. The only remedy for ignorance is what? Knowledge, which is called Jnana Yoga Sadhana, which is given in the final 6 chapters of the Gita. So, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga are the 3 yogas which are explained. And chapter 2 is called the summary of the Gita. Actually, all the teachings by Krishna on Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga have been given in chapter 2. The entire philosophy is there. But because Arjuna, there is a doubt that arose in Arjuna's mind, so in chapter 3, verse 1, he asks a question. Just because of that question, we have another, another 16 more chapters to study. Okay, so don't blame me, blame Arjuna. He got confused, he asked one question, so what is chapter 3 to 18 is chapters 3 to 17 is an expansion of chapter 2. Okay, chapter 2 is summary of Gita, 3 to 17 is expansion of chapter 2, and chapter 18 is again a summary of the whole Gita again. Okay, so this is the format. Now, Sankhya means analysis in this context. Sankhya Yoga, the title of this chapter, means analysis. So in chapter 1, Arjuna analyzed to Krishna why he didn't want to fight the war. Now in chapter 2, Krishna is going to analyze for Arjuna why you should fight the war from different viewpoints. Now I did send out this note sometime back, where I wrote for you the classification of the 72 verses. I hope you all have got this. Right? Can you all refer back to your that notes which I've sent out in the chat group? How are these 72 verses? How are they classified? Okay. So, so there are 72 verses in this chapter. Chapter 2 is the second longest chapter in the Bhagavad Gita. How is it classified? The first 10 verses, verses 1 to 10, there's a description of Arjuna's dilemma and when he surrenders also. So the dilemma of Arjuna is explained and at the point of surrender also, when he surrenders to Krishna. Then Krishna takes over. From verses 11 to 39, he talks about Sankhya Yoga, analyzing action from two viewpoints. Why Arjuna, you should fight this battle, and Krishna gives him two viewpoints. One is on the viewpoint that I am the Atman, I am the soul in this body, I am not the body. So that is the highest viewpoint that we have to reach ultimately. When you consider yourself the body, you get entangled in this world. When you do your actions from the viewpoint of the soul, Aham Atma Asmi, I am the soul, you don't get entangled in your actions. Okay? So Krishna explains all this to him from verses 11 to 39. Then from verses 40 to 50, he explains to him about Karma Yoga. What is the philosophy of Karma Yoga? Verses 51 to 53, he summarizes the 3 steps of spirituality. So how from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, how do we proceed on the spiritual path? It is very beautifully summarized in verses 51, 52 and 53. And finally, Arjuna asks one question to Krishna. Supposing I go through this Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, how do I know when I've reached a state of realization? What are the marks of a realized person? So this is a checklist for us. Krishna explains from verses 54 to 72, 18 verses, he explains what is the mark of a realized person. So to us it is like a checklist. Do I have these qualities? The more and more of these qualities that I have, it means I am progressing on the spiritual path. So it is a beautiful, the 18 verses are very, the final 18 verses of this chapter 2 are very profound verses, and they very beautifully give us the qualities of a realized person. Okay? You will notice that it is not, the qualities of a realized person are not someone who runs away from the world, one who is in the world, engaged in the world, but how he has a firm control of his mind. Okay? So this is the way the chapter is divided. Now, understanding this, let us now enter into verse number 1. Okay? So, verse number 1 now, who's speaking? Sanjaya Vacha. Sanjaya, who's sitting in Hastinapura with the blind king. Why is Sanjaya speaking? Because Arjuna is exhausted, he doesn't know what to say. Krishna also doesn't want to say anything because Arjuna has not surrendered yet. See, this is a very important thing. First of all, we should not go out preaching until people have surrendered to us. And even then, the scriptures always say, first of all, to a person who is looking for shelter, food and water, if you go and give him high philosophy, he is not going to be able to understand. See, supposing somebody comes to your doorstep one day, and then he knocks on your door and you open, and there's this guy standing there very malnourished. He says, "Sir, I have not eaten for 10 days. Can you please give me some food?" So you take him into your kitchen, make him sit down, And you say, come on, let's recite Bhagavad Gita chapter 12 first. That fellow is ready to collapse already. Then you want to give him Gita knowledge. So first of all, it addresses karma yoga, how to convert our actions into us, what we call into worship. Every action, how do we convert into worship? That will be explained to us. So now Sanjaya takes over first. He wants to describe the situation that is happening now. So another thing I must explain to you all, I think there was a question raised by somebody, why am I jumping up and down from the verses? Right? I'm not going in line by line. No? The reason is this. You will notice that the verses of the Gita are composed in meter. If you look at verse number 1, there are 4 lines, right? All the Bhagavad Gita verses have 4 lines. But notice that each line has got 8 syllables. So it's a perfect meter. It's called the Anushtup meter. 8, 8, 8, 8. So when Vyasa composed this dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, he converted it into a meter form. Why did he convert it to a meter form? That's why it's called Bhagavad Gita. It is to be sung, it is to be chanted. So it is easy for us to memorize it rather than if it is written in a story form. So that's why you'll find that each word is not placed in a sequence, it is not like reading a story. So there'll be one word from verse 3, one word from verse 1. So what Adi Shankaracharya did is, he took the meter form and he rewrote everything into prose form. Then from the prose form, he wrote a commentary. So we must first rearrange all the words into prose. Then we will understand the actual meaning of the verse. Okay. So now, what we call Sanjaya is speaking. Okay. Now, what does he say here? He says, Tatha, thus. Okay. So you look at the word in the line, the word Tatha is the second word actually. But we start with that, okay? Tatha, thus. Kripaya, with pity. So, who was this fellow who was feeling pity? It is Arjuna. He is describing Arjuna's condition now. Thus, Kripaya, with pity, Avishtam, overwhelmed with pity, and resulting in Vishidantam, in sorrow. So this is Arjuna's, what we call, situation now. This great warrior is sitting on the seat of his chariot. He's laid down his bow and arrow, and he has been overcome by pity and by sorrow also. So we have gone through why he feels this state of pity and sorrow, and now we look at what is his state now. So if you look at the second line of the Sanskrit text, very deep meaning there, right? If you just read straight away, so we break up this line, Ashru, Purna, Akula, Ikshanam. There are 4 words there, okay? Ikshana means the eyes. Now he is describing the eyes of Arjuna. What is the problem with Arjuna's eyes? He says, Ashru. There are tears in his eyes. But not just 1 or 2 trickling tears. He says, Purna, he is full of tears. His eyes are flooded with tears. He is bawling away like a baby. Total like tears falling down his eyes. He is in such a state of sorrow. Now, the last word, Akula, what does it mean? When our eyes are flooded with tears, what happens? What happens? When your eyes are flooded with tears, what happens? You can't see, right? So Akula means what we call blur vision. His vision was blurred. Now, what does it mean to us? Okay, so Arjuna sitting there, he's bawling like a baby, eyes are full of tears. What does it actually tell us? What is the message it is telling us? As I told you, I think in the last class, when you see a physical situation of a person, what does it reflect? If you see him smiling, what does it reflect? State of the mind. If the mind is in a state of sorrow, you can see it in the person's face, right? So now, what is he describing here? Tears eyes filled with tears. As a result, vision is blur, meaning what? When the mind is overcome by sorrow, then the capacity to think is blurred. When anything overpowers our mind, our capacity to make decisions is blurred. So we have to be very careful about any type of emotion that overpowers our mind. That's why anger, there's another word for anger, it is called temporary insanity. Isn't it? Because before you became angry, you were a normal person. When anger overpowers you, you may throw something at that person, you may shout words that you regret later, and later when anger subsides, what do? You are sorry that you did those things. So anger, greed, jealousy, all these can overpower us and cloud our mental thinking. We lose direction of what to do. And this is exactly Arjuna's problem. So he falls into a state of moha or delusion. That means he cannot think anymore. Okay. So what happens now at this stage now? He says Madhusudana, meaning another name for Krishna. Vakyam spoke these words to such a state of Arjuna, who was sitting there crying, didn't know what to do now, couldn't make a decision. Now Krishna speaks to him. But we will see in verse number 2 that Krishna does not give him any knowledge. He does not preach to him any knowledge. In fact, he scolds him. In verse number 2 and number 3, he uses very, very harsh words on Arjuna. And the reason is because Arjuna has not surrendered to him. Arjuna is not ready to listen to his spiritual discourse. So, as a charioteer, it is a duty of Krishna how you say, inspire and trigger Arjuna to go for the battle. So he has got to use very harsh words on him. So what does Krishna say? So now verse number 2, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Now the Lord takes over. He talks to him. So he wants to push him to go and fight this war. Okay. So he says, Kutaha idam kashmalam. O Arjuna, Kutaha, where about idam, this kashmalam, this impurity has come upon you. What is this impurity? You are a brave warrior, you are a brave soldier. How is it that you are reduced to such a crying, a weak person? How come you are sitting down here crying? So he's telling him, how come in this moment of crisis, Vishame, wrong time, wrong place, now you're talking about compassion, you're talking about all the beloved people who are going to die. So he is scolding Arjuna, he is trying to boost him up to go for the battle. So he says, he uses the word that, Vishame, in this moment of crisis, where has this, what we call this pity, the state of pity and compassion come about over you? So let us not forget that it was Arjuna who went to see Krishna and requested him to be his charioteer. At that time he was prepared to fight, he was ready, he even told everybody that I'm going to kill all the Kauravas because of all the atrocities that they've committed on my family. So now he's saying, you're sitting down and crying there. So he tells him, he uses a very harsh word, he says, Anarya Justam. Anarya Justam here, translated is, are very un-Aryan-like. You're not behaving like an Aryan person. Now, who is an Aryan person? The definition of an Aryan person is one who is of a noble, upright character. So a person who has got a full control over their mind. They know what to do in terms of certain situations. They know how to act. So he's telling him, you're not behaving like what you should be. You are a descendant from a very prestigious family. So by right, you should know what to do and go and fight this war. And then he tells him, if you don't fight this war, you become unworthy of what? He says, Aswargyam, you will not attain heaven. If you fight this righteous war, you will go to heaven. But if you are not going to fight this, you are not going to attain heaven. And on top of that, he says, akirtikaram, you will lose your fame, your name, your reputation. So Krishna is trying all ways and means to try to boost up his confidence to go and fight this war. So he's telling him, neither are you going to attain heaven, and neither are you going to, and you're on top of that, you're going to spoil your name and reputation, because people see you running away from the battlefield. They won't know that you ran away because you don't want to kill your relatives. They will think you ran away because you were a coward. So in this verse 2, he uses very harsh words, and he carries on in verse number 3 also to scold Arjuna, to try to motivate him to go and fight this war. So he says to him, Partha, which is another word for Arjuna, he says, Masma gamaha, do not yield, O Arjuna, do not yield to what? Clibium, state of unmanliness. He's calling him an unmanly person. Very harsh words he's using on him. So he says, this type of behavior which timid, weeping person, upapadaye, does not befit you, does not fit such a brave warrior like you. And he addresses him by one of the names of Arjuna is Paramtapa. Paramtapa means one who defeats all his foes. So he says, you're such a person. And Arjuna had a great reputation as a warrior and as an archer. So he says, it doesn't befit you, it doesn't befit your reputation. And on top of that, he says, you are now looking like somebody who is Hridaya Daubalyam, with a very faint-heartedness. You are very weak-hearted, the way you're talking, the way you're behaving. So Krishna is basically harshly criticizing Arjuna, hoping that to wake him up to go and fight the battle. And finally he tells him, Utishta. Utishta means to wake up, to get up. Because Arjuna had sat on the seat of his chariot, he laid down his bow and arrow, and he was not ready to fight. So this word Utishta also is a very interesting word, because it is used constantly in the Upanishads also. And the gurus constantly scold the students with the word Utishta, to get up. Meaning what? To arise, arise. Not that they are sitting down or what, but arise in their state of thinking, to get out of this cloud of confusion. So there's a very beautiful Upanishad, I think some of the students have known about this, Prashna Upanishad, where the students approach the Guru to get answers to their questions. And they go to the Guru, in those days tradition was to go to the Guru with what they call in this Prashna Upanishad. Prashna means question, with Samit Pani. Samit Pani is dry twigs. The reason, why is it that they go to the Guru and offer him dry twigs? Why do they go to the Guru and offer him dry twigs? Please don't bring that next week here. Why do they do that? So to indicate to the Guru that my mind is like a dry twig. It is ready to be set on fire. That means I am prepared to receive that knowledge from you. So that is an indication of the students, what we call, to the Guru, that we are ready to receive this knowledge. So here also the word Utishta. Utishta is used in Kathopanishad also is written, Utishta, arise, awake, approach the great ones and learn. And they say, why is this spiritual part so difficult? They said, beautifully described in Kathopanishad, walking the spiritual path is like walking the sharp edge of a razor blade. So when you walk on a sharp edge of a razor blade, it is easy to fall off, or you might end up hurting yourself. So the spiritual path is not easy. We need dedication, we need commitment to walk on this path. And the scriptures are constantly advising us to arise, awake. Jagrat Utishta. Jagrat Utishta. Okay. So now, same thing Krishna is trying to do. He's trying to wake up this Arjuna and get him to go into battle. So now Arjuna has got to say something, because Krishna is hammering him so much, is what we call literally criticizing him. So what does Arjuna now? He's trying to defend himself. He still has not surrendered. He still is trying to defend himself. So he says to Krishna, verse number 4, Katham, he says, how am I going to kill Bhishma Pita and Dronacharya? These two very people whom I love so much, whom I respect. Bhishma Pita was the grandfather of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So he was very much respected and loved by everyone. So he says, how am I going to kill these people? Actually, they are pujar half. They are worthy of worship. Pujar half, Bhishma, Drona, Katham aham pratishyotsyami. How am I going to fight against them? They are people whom I should worship, I should garland them, I should touch their feet. And you are telling me to go and kill them? See, if Krishna had parked his chariot, where did he park his chariot? In front of Bhishma, Pita and Dronacharya. Purposely he did that. And Arjuna got into the state of confusion. But had Krishna parked his chariot in front of Duryodhan or Karna, what would have happened? Only one chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that's all. War would have started. But he deliberately did that. And so now Arjuna is questioning Krishna. These people are worthy of worship. I should be garlanding them, touching their feet. But you are telling me Sankhya is to be pratiyosyami, to fight them, to shoot arrows into them? I can't do that. And very interestingly here, he addresses Krishna by two names. See, every time a different name is used to address Krishna or Arjuna, there is a context in that verse. So here he addresses Krishna as Madhusudana and Arisudana. Two names he addresses. He is trying to send a message to Krishna. What is that? He is saying, Krishna, your name is Madhusudana. What is Madhusudana? Killer of the demon Madhu. So people were terrorized by this demon. They prayed to Krishna to come and kill this demon. So he's telling Krishna, you kill demons. Now you're telling me to kill respectable people, my gurus. How? You cannot compare the same thing. So you are known as Madhusudana because you killed a demon. And then he calls him Arisudana. Arisudana means destroyer of enemies. Those who were your enemies, you destroyed them. But they are not my enemies. So how can you expect me to destroy them? So even in this, what Arjuna basically is trying to do is send a message to Krishna that you cannot compare my attacking Bhishma Pita and Dronacharya, you cannot compare because you kill evil people, you kill demons. So he says you cannot expect me to kill my beloved people. But what Arjuna also is forgetting, that Krishna also had to kill his own uncle, Kans Chanur, his own uncles he had to kill. And he also had to kill his sister's child, which is Shishupal. There's a beautiful story in the Mahabharata which is told about Shishupal, who hated Krishna so much that there was a prophecy told that when this child is born, Krishna will come and kill this child. So when this child is born, he's born very deformed, with many deformities. And the parents wanted to actually go and abandon him, kill him somewhere. But then a prophecy came, don't kill the child, because there will come a person who, when he carries the child, all the deformities will disappear. And that will be the person who will kill the child also. So it so happened that it was Krishna's own, father's sister. So he went to visit her. And when he carried the child in his hand, all the deformities disappeared. So the mother realized that Krishna is going to be the killer of her child. So she goes to see Krishna and tells him that this prophecy has come and you are going to be the one killing my child. I want you to make me a promise that you will not kill my child. So Krishna says, I cannot make you that promise because I do not know what your child is going to do that will make me want to kill him. So, but I'll give you one promise. I will excuse him for 100 what we call 100 trespasses. After that, he commits 101, then I have to kill him. So the mother says, okay, my child definitely cannot commit 100 wrong things. But this guy grows up and he commits 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way, keeps on committing so many atrocities. Finally, on the last day, when Yudhishthira is to be coronized, he's supposed to be installed as the king, and Yudhishthira is sitting on the throne with Krishna and all there, Shishupal cannot take it. He really hates Krishna. So he starts insulting Krishna, he starts insulting Yudhishthira, he insults Bhishma Pita, and then people are looking at Krishna. Krishna, why are you standing there? Why are you smiling? Krishna is standing there smiling. Why are you doing that? Krishna says, I'm not smiling, I'm counting. So he says, now Shishupal, you reach 100. I promise your mother 100, I will not do anything. So you better stop now, don't go anymore. But he cannot stop, he keeps on criticizing. Then Krishna has to take out the Sudarshan Chakra and chop his head off. So like that also Krishna had to deal and kill his own relatives. But Arjuna now is trying to find a way out, what to do. Finally, in verse number 5, he says, Mahanubhavan, these are the noble-minded guru, my gurus. So instead of ahatva, instead of killing them, he says, it's better for me to do what? Better for me to become what we call a sannyasi. Better for me to run away from this battlefield. I'm not interested to kill them and get all the pleasures of my kingdom. I am prepared to run away from this battle. I do not want my hands to be stained with the blood of my guru and my elders. So he is prepared to give up his warrior, give up his role as a warrior, run away from the battlefield and take up a life of begging from house to house. So once again, if we look at this, we analyze Arjuna's situation. Yes, it is good. One day we want to become a sannyasi. But we should not take up sannyas for the wrong reasons, to run away from our problems, run away from our troubles. If we have really fallen in love and we have a value for the life of a sannyasi, yes, by all means go and pursue that. But here Arjuna is looking for an escape hatch, how to run out away. So he says, Bhishma and Drona are all very righteous people. It is better for me that I leave this battlefield and I take up the life of a sannyasi to go begging from place to place. And we will come back the next week and we will discuss verse number 6. And then in verse number 7, Arjuna finally surrenders to Krishna. That is a very beautiful verse. He finally surrenders to him, and that's when Krishna starts giving his discourse on the Bhagavad Geeta. Okay, so we'll end with the prayer. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hari Om. Thank you.